mostly stopped using that email about 3 years ago, which was 1 year before he was fired. In a folder for digital receipts, I found a confirmation email for a dating website, which I think he saved there accidentally. I also found a verification email for a new email address. I started to put together a speculative timeline of what happened. I guessed that about 3 years ago, Jeff started having an affair, and shortly after, he decided to get a new email address to help keep the affair a secret. I wanted to access his dating profile to get more information. So I tried to use the forget the password feature to see if I could generate an email that would allow me to reset the password and log in that way. Unfortunately, the dating website didn't recognize Jeff's old email address. I thought that I might be able to get into Jeff's new email using his old email to reset the password. And then maybe I could use a new email to get into the dating website. However, I didn't want to risk locking Jeff out of his new email and alerting him until I knew more about what he'd done. And here's where I totally lucked out. The email application that Jeff downloaded to Eileen's MacBook had a note feature. And the super genius that Jeff was, he saved some of his passwords on notes. Most of his passwords weren't helpful, but I did get the password to the dating site and his Twitter and Netflix accounts. I logged into the dating site using his new email address and the password. I was able to read messages that Jeff sent to another woman before he broke up with Eileen. The new mistress sent Jeff her email address in one of those messages. I searched Facebook for the mistress's email address and I found her profile. I couldn't read her posts, but some of her photos were public. She had recent photos of her and Jeff, so I knew they were still together. She also posted a photo of a construction crew breaking ground on a new home for her and Jeff, which was very interesting because I got the impression from Eileen that Jeff didn't have a lot of money after the divorce. Here's where my background is important. At the time, I was attending law school, and I had access to the Lexis database, specifically their public records database. I had spent a good portion of one of my summer internships tracking down property records for other assets to help recover judgments for clients, so I knew how to search for public records. The mistress had purchased several acres in a wealthy suburb several months before Jeff filed for divorce, and there was no mortgage listed on the record. I had already found the mistress's LinkedIn page, so I knew that she worked as an executive assistant before she moved out of state with Jeff. She didn't advertise her salary, but I doubted she could have afforded the property with her salary alone. It is possible that she had money outside of her salary, but I suspect that Jeff gave her money to purchase the land before he filed for divorce. I also found an updated record in Lexis showing that Jeff and his mistress were the joint owners of that property. I called the county recorder office to confirm ownership of the property, dates, etc. The mistress had filed a quitclaim just 5 weeks after Jeff's divorce was finalized. I was still hesitant to try to log into Jeff's new email, so I decided to check his old email again to see if there was anything else I could investigate before moving to the new email. I didn't find anything, but I did notice that several of his passwords and his notes were identical. I decided to try to log into his new email using the same password that he used for the dating site. I figured the two accounts were created at around the same time, so if he had recycled a password, that was the most likely candidate, and it worked! His new email was a gold mine. Because the story is already getting ridiculously long, I'll list some of the relevant stuff I found. Jeff had not been fired from his old job. Instead, he had quit and just lied to Eileen. I found an email from his admin asking where to have payroll send his last check and details about a goodbye party for him. I found some emails between Jeff and a boat repair person mentioning a leak somewhere on the side of a sailboat near the engine compartment. The repair guy couldn't find the source of the leak, but he talked about mold problems in the engine on that side of the boat. I found emails between Jeff and a boat broker, which included the email address of the buyers farther down the email chain. I found an emailed report from the boat inspector, which did not include the leak, the mold damage, or the engine damage. I found emails between Jeff and his contractor about changes made to the new house's sunroom. I found emails between Jeff and his mistress. They had gotten married. I found Jeff and his new wife's shared calendar. I also found flirty emails between Jeff and a third woman. And finally, emails with info on Jeff's new employer. I downloaded all the important emails and their attachments, and I started thinking about a revenge plan. The revenge. In my mind, everything was fair game. He had lied about being fired, so I wanted him fired from his new job. I suspected that he hid his money before his separation from Eileen to help pay for his new house, so I wanted Jeff to lose his house. He cheated, so I also wanted to destroy his new relationship. Anything I could do about the boat was a bonus. The easiest place to start was the boat. I had no idea if the source of the leak was found and repaired, or if the leak was verbally disclosed to the buyer. But I figured that Jeff was a lying jerk, so odds were good that he hid this information from the new buyer. I sent the emails between Jeff and the repairman, as well as another copy of the inspection to the new buyer. I searched Jeff's county court website 5 months later and found out the buyers filed a suit against Jeff and the broker and the inspector. Ha! I couldn't figure out how to take or destroy Jeff's house, so I settled for contacting the county inspector's office to complain about the sunroom not being up to code. This is actually what prompted me to write this post, because I just found out some details about what happened with the county inspectors. It turns out the sunroom was code compliant, but the inspector did find a workshop attached to the detached garage that wasn't on the original permit or plans. The workshop had a bathroom that the contractor attached to the property's septic system after the initial inspection. Jeff had to pay a fine, and the workshop had to be removed. This ended up causing construction delays, which will become relevant below. As for destroying Jeff's marriage, my first impulse was to send the new wife the flirty emails between Jeff and the third woman, but when I searched for that woman on social media, I couldn't find anything. I had no way of knowing if the new wife actually knew that woman and wouldn't think the emails weren't important or evidence of an affair. Then I played around with the idea of updating Jeff's dating profile and sending the new profile to his wife. However, it would take too long to manufacture a fake relationship with real dates and times. And I was worried that Jeff might get an email alert from the dating website that would clue him in. I ended up just risking that the new wife wouldn't know the other woman. I pretended to be someone concerned about an affair between Jeff and this new woman. Overall, I kept the accusation vague, but I did say that Jeff and this new girl went out to eat and to the movies on a few dates on Jeff's shared calendar when the new wife was out of town. I couldn't come up with a